Welcome to Deep Thought. It's scary how people will hold on to a false belief. It really is scary. Now, this will be the equivalent of a rant, but for deep thought, so I'm gonna be calm about it. I'm laughing a little bit, but seriously, now this is something I've experienced in life. And most people have encountered it. Sometimes we've been guilty of it ourselves. I've been guilty of it because, as I always say on here, I'm not a guru on top of a mountain. I'm climbing it just with y'all. Like I said, some of you I'm a little bit ahead of, some of you, and you have to shout to get my attention, and some of you right next to me, you climbing right next to me, and you close enough to whisper to me. So I've been through it. But it's scary. You ever just had that belief in something that's so strong that people can hit you with a ton of evidence. They can hit you with visual evidence. They can have studies. They can have whatever, and you still don't believe it. I don't care what they do. I'm saying official academic evidence of something. You could be an eyewitness to something. You still don't believe it. It's right there in front of you. You ever have that yourself? So if you had it yourself and recognized it and overcame it, I know you've recognized it in other people. And it's scary. It's people want to hold on to something that honestly is detrimental to them. I can understand if people hold on to a false belief, a lie, an inaccurate thing, and they're making money off of it. Seriously, I can honestly understand if they are making money off of it. Shoot, I'd hold on to it too. If you're making a whole lot of money and everything, and it's some bull, but you tell yourself it's true. In fact, you might even know it's some bull, but you're making money. You're going to hold on to it. You'll tell yourself some stuff. But a lot of people, when they hold on to a false belief, they hurt behind it. They are hurt behind it. Seriously. They think, they think no matter what, no matter how much pain they're going through, and they don't think, well, maybe it's this false belief I have, everything. And, it's not, they stuck in a place. They'll just go with it. And then, even if you challenge them on that false belief, like you'll say, okay, you believe that, prove it. You saying that, prove it. They can't do it. Then they'll still stick with it. Now it's like, it's one thing to have a false belief, but then when you challenged on it and you can't do it, but you still maintain it, it really hurts you. It really hurts. It hurts the people. And they don't make a correlation between having that false belief and just everything else, how their life is going. Because we've all been around those people who, they stay stubborn and everything, no matter how much you tell them, you try to hit them over the head. And it's like someone told me one time, and she was telling me about what her mother had said, sometimes you get hit with a brick to try to tell you something, to try to point out the error of your ways, and you ignore it. But then at some point, you got to get hit by a wall. You got to run into a wall or something. And then even then, people just stick with it. It's like, man. But I'm going to tell you what, though. The reason why people will do it because they become comfortable in that. Like I had a comment, the day I'm recording, because, I always record these early, maybe a week or so before they actually come out. I was looking at a comment on a video on my men's channel. And someone I was talking about many men have a defeatist attitude. And a gentleman actually said, yeah, they expect to lose, but they're comfortable in that thought. I'm like, what? Why would you want to keep this? See, one thing, I'm going to tell you what. Sometimes people do get comfortable in their own ignorance. They get comfortable in their pain. Instead of doing the logical thing of trying to alleviate that pain, trying to get rid of it. And they could be comfortable for a lot of reasons. Like, I'm gonna tell you what, on a deep level, there's a significant portion of the population who are motivated by fear. Fear colors every movement, what they do, where they go, the type of lives they live, the type of relationships they get into. And and the fear is on a very deep level. See, sometimes people, it's like someone who will get into an abusive relationship, either physical or mental. And just for the record, it could be a man or a woman. Contrary to popular belief, there are a lot of men who are being physically abused. So it could be a man and a woman, and they get into that relationship, but for whatever reason, because of the fear of not being able to find someone else, or they think this is the best they can do, they will stay there. But that's a false belief. So they get comfortable. Well, they ain't getting comfortable, but, well, yeah, you could say they're getting comfortable in their pain, or they find the comfort. They find a way to cope with their pain instead of just saying, just change it. It's like someone gets comfortable with poverty. Like they in a poor state, but then instead of making the move to go beyond it, their fear keeps them in place. And then what they'll do is they'll try to say, well, rich people are this, or people who making money, or you got to work hard. They'll find everything, but it's just their fear keeping them in place. So that's the same principle why people will hold on to a false belief. They're afraid to go beyond it. Now, thankfully, there are another group of people, if they even have that false belief, if once you point it out to them, they're like, oh, I got to get rid of them. That's why, and I've talked about that in a podcast before, to always embrace truth, no matter what. See, one thing about me, I embrace truth. When I see something doesn't work, or even some of my own thoughts, I have no problems discarding it. I've done that in my own books. Like and I talked about, there's another podcast coming up on my men's channel that I mentioned this. I'll mention it here. There was a certain sequence on sexually arousing a woman that I presented in Nice Guys and Players that I actually changed those sequence for my next book, Sexual Chemistry. And I even said, I said, looking at it further, I think the sequence should be changed. See, I will change it. But see, a lot of people don't want to embrace truth, or they don't want to embrace that they found something new, that they should add to it. See, my thing is, false beliefs, they don't help you. It's only a tiny percentage of people that can have a false belief and make it through life, at least monetarily. And even them, a lot of times people who might make it monetarily, they have other stuff going on in their lives that's not good. You ever see people, they can be real successful, but privately they're not happy because they holding on to a false belief. So those things, but many people, they just will. You can point, like I said, I've seen situations, you can point it out to them. You can say, provide the evidence. They still, and they can't. And then when you could provide evidence to them that what they're thinking is not the correct way, they still ignore it, stubborn. And, I feel bad for them because usually it's not a good outcome for these people. There's a lot of people, they get to the point that the way they transition and the impact that they have on the world is less. And seriously, people always go in a bad direction when they hold on to a false belief. But it's something that must be confronted every single day. All right. So I want y'all to think on this. And I'll get back with y'all tomorrow. Peace and blessings.